Hey everyone, Jeff Mackerlin here, and today I want to talk about my new pedal board. I'm super psyched about this one. It does everything I would want a pedal board to do and more. It was put together for me by my great friend Jimmy Archie, who works out of 30th Street Guitars in Manhattan. If you like some of my playing throughout the video, I'm really paraphrasing some of the ideas that I talk about in one of my favorite courses that I put out called Pentatonic Creativity. In that course, I show you how to take your standard old pentatonic scale and maybe look at it in a different way so you're not playing the same old blues licks. You can get that course for a super deep discount using the link above or below.
Okay, so after we initially sat down and laid out the board, it was time to put the preferred method of adhesion to the pedal board. So Jeff prefers to use dual lock. Very heavy duty and very solid. Good tip, get yourself a nice little spatula, a little flat one. And when you want to pull these out and get the pedals out from underneath it, you just slide the spatula between the two layers and it should peel them apart. So next thing we're gonna do is lay out the pedal board again so that I can make sure I know the routing of how we're gonna do things and make sure everything fits correctly.
So let's take a look at the pedal board up close. Now the patch cables and power cables are made using 3 Monkeys cables, and they're solderless, and Jimmy's put them together. They're really solid. He makes pedal boards for tons of famous touring people. They've never failed on them, so good stuff.
Okay, so 3 Monkeys cables. Here we have your 1/4-inch jack. We got a nice piece of length that I will be using a short one. So I'm just going to show you how to do this real quickly. I've used this for many years. I've never had problems with this cable. So any doubters, try it. So what you want to do is you want to cut this perfectly flush, straight. You can use a little razor knife, cut it straight down. You can use a pair of scissors. These are terrible. You wouldn't want to use these, but as long as they're flat. I prefer a little pair of clippers. They're perfectly flat on one side. You don't want them to be concave, otherwise it'll cut the wire wrong. So essentially, you're just going to get in here, cut it. I like to roll it a little bit in between my fingers just to get it nice and rounded again. And then we're just going to thread it on. Finger tight, you're perfect. If you want to do right angle, you obviously just bend it down into that little notch. All right, cool. That's how you do that one.
And if you notice some of these, he's cut to size. And here we're using the EBS cables. I did this on purpose because I want to be able to switch these pedals out when I want to, a different overdrive for a different gig. I find that, these are really easy, just jam one in, jam one out. If I want to make a longer pedal, it's easier, and I don't have to worry about messing up with any of this beautiful work that Jimmy's done over here. Now, take a look, really cool. And he's even fastened everything down right here. Now, this is where the magic happens. Check out the back of this. Check out that cable management. So here we have the mono power supply, which I think is really great. 500 milliamps each, and of course these all switch to different voltages if you want them to do that. We've got 18, 9, and 12 volts per each one. You can double them up. We have a USB adapter here, which is really cool. I have an extra one, which is really nice. You can also expand these out easily, which is really cool to do, using another little unit. And here's the power supply. So it is a bit of a wall wart, but not really that big. And look at what Jimmy's done. He's really tied this up great. And I just plug in right there. Solid as a rock, really awesome. Also, you will notice, if you do, that the electric or the power does not interfere at all with the cable for the pedals. So they're separate. So there's no noise issues whatsoever. It's a super quiet board.
Okay, now we're going into the OCD mode. I use these anchors to tie down the cables, and that pisses me off. It does not look good. So, today we're listening to the Pogues because Shane MacGowan passed away, and I'm just going to sit here and color it in because I'm absolutely incredibly stupid and crazy. But I have to say, it makes me happy not seeing that little white line next to the black pedal board and the black anchor. So now I have a nice clean, all black around the sides. That way I don't get pissed off at myself that I see that little white piece of frickin' adhesion. Thank you very much for following my stupidity, and you have a nice day.
Really, really beautiful. It is a mono board. Thank you, Mono, for this. And it comes with a really cool soft case. And thank you to the people at Mono Creators for this as well. So let's talk about the setup first. I'm running into my divided by 13 EDT 1329 head. I'm running that pretty clean with no reverb. I'm running that into the Universal Audio aux into a Marshall 412 greenback cabinet. I wish I could mic some real amps here, but I live in Brooklyn and that's not really easy to do. So this is the best we can do. I think it still sounds pretty good. It's a great, accurate representation of the pedal board and the amplifier. Next, the guitar is my prototype for my signature guitar with my friend Michael Tuttle. There'll be more information on that coming up. And let's talk about the pedal board. So let's check out the signal flow. So I'm coming out of the guitar into the R Weaver Effects Octavate, which is an Octavia. That comes out into my Polytune, which has the buffer on. You can have the option of having a buffer on or off in this pedal. That comes out into the Vibe Machine by Drybell. Then that signal comes into the Vemram Janray, into the Vemram Landau, into the Vemram Shanks ODS-1. That then comes out into the Layla, I think I'm pronouncing that right, volume pedal. It's the mono one, it's the mini one. And this signal comes out into the El Capistan, which is my delay, which in turn comes out into the Flint, which is my tremolo and reverb. You may ask, Jeff, why do you have 3 overdrives? Because they sound cool. I like this combination. Also, if you look, we're using the EBS cables right here, and we did this on purpose, Jimmy and I, because I wanted to be able to switch out the overdrive position for some of my favorite other overdrive pedals, like the Gladio SC, which would very often go right here, or I love this pedal by David Barber and my friend Keith Williams over 5 Watt World, the Bus, which sounds great. So this could sit in any of these positions as well. So for today, I just have the Janray, I have the Vemram stuff in there. Good friends with the guys at Vemram, and I absolutely love their pedals. So let's start off simple. There is my clean tone, right? So now I usually run my amps clean on gigs so I can adjust the volume from my pedal board, as I will show you with the master volume. Of course, if I have the opportunity to get the amp where I can really crank it and get it doing its thing, I will run this a little differently. But today we're going to check out how I'm running it into a clean amplifier. So let's hear it. Here's the dry guitar signal into the amplifier. Now I'm going to turn on the reverb. Now the Flint is pretty ubiquitous. This is the version 2. I think it sounds really nice. So, and you have the added benefit of having tremolo, which I really love. And here, I've set this to be the tap tempo, depending on the tune. Right? So that's really useful for me. So I really like having a tap tempo on delay effects, of course, and in tremolo, it's really a great option to have a tap tempo as well, especially due to the song. All right, now let's put on a little overdrive. So here's my favorite pedal, the Shanks ODS-1. I like this pedal a lot because it cleans up great. It's very ampy. Let's talk about the delay. I have my El Capistan. I've been using the El Capistan. This is version 2. I've been using the version 1 since it came out, so it's really sort of my favorite delay pedal, and I'm most comfortable with it. That's why I keep on sticking with it. That, and it sounds great. So what I've done here is I've put in the multi-switch because I have 3 presets for the delay. You may ask, well, why don't I use a timeline? Well, it's bigger and it's a little bit more difficult to program, and this is nice and easy. I just know this pedal, so I just kind of stick with it, and I like the sound of it. So, number 1. slapback delay. And I really love that sound, especially, you know, a little cleaner. So that's really an awesome sound to have all the time. You can ride the mix a little bit depending on the gig or how loud you are. Now number 2, kind of a softer delay, longer. I'm gonna put on some overdrive. So for me, that's my always on delay. I really like the ambience. I play with a trio primarily, and I really like the way the delay can help fill out some of that space. So there, if I'm taking a solo. So now we also have the tap tempo here, so I can change that up on the fly. All right, a little longer, whatever I want to do. Now preset number 3 is just the same delay, just louder, more mix. So let's talk about all these different overdrive pedals. It's a bigger board, so I'm gonna take advantage of that, right? I could use 2 overdrive pedals. I'm usually fine with that. One is the main overdrive and the other one is the boost. But here I have 3 different options, and I really like the difference in sound. Now I usually use the Vemriam ODS-1 as my always on pedal. It's emulating the sound of a broken up amplifier, and that's what I'm really looking for. Cleans up great, like I said earlier. Now, let me just switch over to the January, which I really love. Definitely different quality. So it's a very different sounding pedal, which is great because I don't want 2 of the exact same sounding pedals. So I have the option of running one or the other, or I can stack them. That sounds pretty awesome. So the one thing I want to talk about right here is gain staging. I'm not cranking the output of this into that so I get a huge volume boost. I'm getting some. Let's check this out. So here, oops. A little bit of a volume boost, but I'm actually just pumping more overdrive into it. Let's kind of get that unity gain. Close enough. So I'm just kind of boosting the overdrive, but not so much the volume, because this is where the volume pedal will come in a really cool fashion. Because sometimes when you're using a drive into another drive, you can get a huge volume boost, and sometimes you want that for soloing, if that's what you want. But sometimes I just want a little bit more overdrive and maybe not so much more volume. And that's where the volume pedal, like I said, comes in. Also, the tone controls on the Vemriam allows me to cut some highs or cut some lows. So I dial into, to taste. It's going to change up with guitars. Now the Landau is a takeoff on the Maxon SD9. And I've always loved those pedals, but like a lot of people who check them out, had a really difficult time using them. So let's check this out on its own. It is a loud pedal. Distorting the heck out of everything here. Now Mike likes it that way because he runs his guitars very differently, where he has his volume knob down pretty low and never has them all the way up, so he cranks the volume on the pedal, all these things. So let's check out the sound of the Shanks and the Landau together. So it does sound different to me than that. There's more mids. This is a thicker, fuller sound, which sounds really great to have these two different options. Now, of course, let's do what... That sounds pretty awesome. Now, I can control everything from the master volume on the floor, which is my volume pedal. Which is really useful on gigs if you're playing and you want to control your volume. It took me many years to learn that trick, to put your volume pedal after your overdrives and before your time-based effects. The reason for that is you're controlling the overall volume, yet your delays and reverb trails are still the same and unaffected, which is really cool. Now let's check out one of my favorite effects, which is of course the Univibe. Now let me just roll back my gain to here. I love the sound of a Univibe, a phase shifter, a chorus, or a flanger in front of overdrive. It sounds like the way Jimmy did it. You're pushing that affected signal into the overdrive, and I think it sounds cooler to me. You could experiment with both. That's a personal opinion. Whatever you like is what you like. It's fine. But for me to get that traditional sound, that is the Univibe before overdrive. So next up is my favorite noise-making pedal, which is the Octavia. The reason why I have it first is I have a buffer next. I found that the Octavia doesn't really react the way it's supposed to with a buffer in front of it. Some may be different. This one in particular, I tried it and it just doesn't feel the same or sound the same. This is not unusual. Sometimes buffers affect wah pedals, or they will affect the way a fuzz sounds. I found they affect the way the Octavia sounds too. So I have it in front of the chain, and I'm running it with the volume up, but with the boost down. So this is a bit of a fuzz in there too, which I like the added benefit of having a fuzz and an Octavia in one pedal. So let's check it out. Now if I flip the switch here, I've got a fuzz pedal. So this pedal board covers pretty much everything that I've encountered that I need for my music, of course. So my tunes have tremolo. I think it's a good part of the song. I really love tremolo when you want it. Reverb, I always like having on a pedal board. Now, the reason why I wouldn't use so much of the reverb in the amplifier, what if I start hitting the front end of the amp really hard? Sometimes the reverb can run away from you. It gets really splashy, right? So if I have it on the floor, I can control how much reverb is coming out. It's sometimes using overdrive pedals at a loud volume with reverb from an amplifier can get a bit messy sounding. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So check this out. I'm gonna turn up the reverb here. So, right, so you start hearing the reverb a lot, and it's very effecty sounding. It's cool, but once again, if I do the same thing, turn on the reverb. So the reverb stays as you would kind of want it to be. You have more control over the input of the reverb. So one quick thing I noticed that I didn't talk about in the video is, why do I have the barefoot switches on certain pedals? Well, I can get to the tuner very easily. It's a little lower down in the board. Right here I have the barefoot riser on the tap tempo, because my delay is usually on, or I could turn it on and off using the multi-switch. So if I put my foot down on the ground, I'm gonna hit the tap tempo. Same thing over here. The reverb is usually on all the time. So when I have it on this, I can turn on my tremolo and not worry about hitting any other pedals by turning on or off the reverb. It was my big feet. Thank you so much to Mono Creators for the pedal board and the power supply. Also to 3 Monkeys for these great cables that Jimmy cut to size. Really solid, really amazing stuff. So thanks to those guys. And if you want your own pedal board done by Jimmy Archie, just reach out to 30th Street Guitars. You can use the link below, and I'll put the phone number there if you want to give them a call. And Jimmy will design a pedal board just for you, and it'll look this good. All right, everyone, I'll see you the next time, and thanks for being here.